The following interview is proudly presented by MightyOxTrading. Hello, everyone. Welcome to MightyOxTrading. I, of course, am the Mighty Ox. And today we are interviewing BenG, a six-figure prop trader, member of my Discord community. And we will be discussing a bunch of his trading journey and how he trades, and a bunch of other things. We'll just go through the interview. Now, this is a voice only interview, so you can sit back and relax. You can trade while listening. You can do anything you want. You're not going to get to see us accidentally pick our nose or anything. So, without further ado, hello, Benji, or
Hey,
Ben. How you doing?
doing well. Doing
Glad
well.
to have you, and thank you for taking your time out to do this.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure.
So, to start off, I'd like you just, if you wouldn't mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself, however much or however little you wish to share, because I know people have different privacy levels they wish to keep.
Yeah, no worries. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit of my journey, I guess, into trading. Um, my background undergrad was like finance, and I ended up managing investments like financial advisor, but I was actually managing the assets. I didn't just trust it, to some mutual fund. I did all the management myself. So I was running about 30 million or so by the time I was 20.
Oh,
And
wow.
when I walked away from that, and I ended up getting into prop trading back in the old days with the equity props with a company called Ascent. And back then it was in 2003, I believe, when they still had the old specialist system. So, kind of essentially we were kind of reading the tape and watching for what the specialist, was doing because he had access to the order flow. And we'd essentially front ride, the specialist. So that then changed, kind of towards the end of 2004, 2005, when they'd switched to hybrid, and then eventually kind of the specialist went away completely. So, so I still traded, but just not full time. I did lived overseas for a few years doing some work. Um, Came back, worked a little bit more. I was still trading part time. Went to grad school, got my MBA, and got frustrated after like about 2 years. I was doing strategy consulting, and I missed trading. I was still trading part time. My daughter was born. Like the first year of her life, I didn't get to see her pretty much because I was working so much. My son was about to get born, so my wife and I had a talk, and we decided, hey, I can trade from home and actually make money, and she's making enough anyways, so it would make sense for me to do that. So that was back in 2012, and I've pretty much been full time trading ever since. So my journey evolved though because I was still doing equities all the way up until 2014. I don't know if you remember, there was a crisis with Knights Capital with their order executions where it just went absolutely nuts. And basically some of the big players got reimbursed, the small ones didn't, and I got crushed on a couple of huge Tesla trades. And I said, something, enough, and I started switching over to futures and options. And I've been doing options for years, anyways, but just more of a focus on those. And then in 2018, we had some huge meltdown, and I was doing a lot of portfolio options kind of stuff, which was great. I made a ton of money, even when the market melted. But the stress level of trying to manage a complicated set of options when the market was in meltdown, and the liquidity of trying to unwind these positions and manage everything was just ridiculous. And I said, something, I'm just going to stick to futures. And so I've been futures ever since. Um, I've had my share of disasters and blowups, and everything from technological issues to mental breakdowns. I've kind of been through a little bit of it all and continue to. So that's a little bit of a overview.
Awesome. So, wow, that's quite the journey. And so you started with like the, I don't want to say legitimate, but like the Wall Street type prop firm before
Yeah, I
ever.
still call them bucket shops. Like you
Yeah.
you put in like like a couple K and like leveraged up 100 to 1. for the old equities day trading. But there was more of an actual methodology. They actually kind of taught you, at least the one I was at, taught you like a little bit of an edge that was repeatable because they wanted to have, either percentage of profits and commissions and things like that that you would, generate. So yeah, that was way back.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like that sounds actually more stressful than this kind of trading with the prop firms now. Um,
Like yes and no, but it was easier at the time because it was like you would have your risk so well defined because you knew exactly where the specialist was getting long and like you had just an easy out because you pretty much knew it wasn't going below, and if it went below, like just get the heck out. And it was tight. Everything was really tight with the losses. So things changed a lot in towards the end of 2004 and 2005 because you had to trade much more ranges. It wasn't you couldn't really narrow it in as much to the to the tick.
Makes sense. So when you started switching over to futures, how much of an adjustment was that, and how long did it take you to start finding consistent success with that?
Yeah, the well, part of it was easy. It's part of why I always have had ES as my bread and butter, because when I was trading equities, I was always watching the ES and trading the equities along with the ES, like using it for relative strength, for markets, and just using the ES overall as a uh, as kind of like a barometer, for the market. So it wasn't too terribly difficult because like trading was basically trading. Um, I would say it happened relatively quickly, but I was still keeping it, small. I wasn't trying to hit home runs. I was just, building up the accounts, slowly and gradually building it up. And so it was just a consistent grind for, you know, quite a few years. And then 2018 was when things really started to take off for me, where my accounts had kind of gotten built up to the point where I could start taking a little bit more risk and start scaling it even more. And in 2018, I think the month of January or something like that, I had I want to say close to like around a $75,000 month or so. And I was so excited because like everything was clicking. I wasn't trading that large. Like my risk was under control and psychologically was in a great place. And I then had all hell break loose one day with my platform, similar to the kind of the rhythmic issues we saw with Apex. We had ghost orders and things just started like trading on its own on my account, and there was nothing I could do. And I was with like a brokerage that didn't have the best trade support. So by the time I was able to get on the line with them, wiped out pretty much everything. So
Ouch.
yeah, so a couple 100,000 probably in a matter of minutes. Yeah, that was
Ouch.
that was painful, and in fact, it's really been the last 5 years, not just financially recovering from that, but psychologically recovering from that, because that does an absolute number on you for a couple of reasons. One was you got to start trading small again and building it up, right? Once you have been trading big, you don't want to trade small anymore. You want to try to push it. But also like the risk aversion and not wanting to take losses and all the bad habits basically kind of started rearing their ugly head again, from that. And still, like not 100% over it. I've just learned to try to more manage my starting size a little bit better so that, if I do go on tilt, right, that ending place is still a little bit manageable, and of course, relative to account size. So,
Is that whole experience and all that, is that what led you to come to the prop firms like
correct,
Apex
correct.
and Fast Track and all those?
Correct. Correct. It was well a couple of reasons, right? If I don't have to necessarily risk my own capital, like why? Um, and it allows me to trade my own capital more conservatively. And then, it's the additional leverage basically of being able to do it and kind of build up quicker. So
Now, do you still trade your own money, like in a brokerage account, besides the prop firms, or is it just
I
prop firms?
haven't. I'm just starting to do that again. It's been a couple of years. I put everything out from the brokerages about two or 2 or 3 years ago, I think, and stopped. And then because I was doing more the prop firm thing, and I at the time I've been using Motive Wave,
Mhm.
and Motive Wave I could not really do the copy trading across accounts and across things. So there was no reason for me to do my own brokerage when you know I'm not going to really. I don't want to spend any extra time trying to copy trade across multiple platforms and multiple things. So, but now the functionality is there, so I'm going to start again.
Makes sense. So, I guess that I did have a question here. Do you see yourself? You've taken out big payouts. We didn't even talk about that yet, but you've taken out
Yeah, it's been.
close to what, $400,000 in the past few months.
Yeah, I'm 320 from FTT. I've taken out probably I don't know 120 to 200 or so from Apex earlier in the year. Uh, I took a few thousand here and there from Earn to Trade and a few others. So
Nice. So, do you see yourself sticking with the prop firm model long term, especially as we're now hearing that eventually some of these firms are going to be put into a live brokerage account versus
yeah,
the sim
yeah,
model?
yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of advantages to it from just from like a risk psychological aspect. Not having to go get the CME seat myself for some of them if they do have a more legit true prop type of arrangement with the discounted regulatory and exchange fees, can make up for some of the giving up a piece of the profits. So
Excellent. Yeah, because I know there's always that debate about you know get a certain amount of money from the props and then open up your
yeah,
own brokerage, and that way you're not giving giving the
yeah,
prop like 10% or whatever. So I always like to hear the different perspectives on that.
yeah. So maybe it really comes down to like a couple different. I mean, it really depends on the firm and how they're set up and how they're working with you and partnering and what other things that they're giving to you, you know, as a result, right? Whether it's coaching or psychologists or other kind of things, some of them offer where there's value added. Um, you throw in exchange, cheaper exchange and regulatory fees that can add up. Um, and then nowadays the way things are with the advent of copy traders, like it's very much more reasonable to copy across different firms as well. So just being at a prop firm doesn't mean that I can't copy trade my own stuff the same way that I'm doing at the prop firm as well. So
Yeah, copy trading. You copy trade up to 20 at a time. Is that how you do it, or how do you
yeah,
have a
I,
limit?
I copy trade all 20 at the same time.
I just how does that? I know you talked about your psychology after your issues from years ago. How did that play into psychology? Because I know when I don't copy trade much, but when I do and I start seeing those numbers add up much quicker, it can mess with my head. Did that mess with
Yeah,
your head as you started sizing up in
I'll tell you,
accounts?
it still does. I mean, I had a huge disaster a week and a half, or I guess 2 weeks ago now, where I blew a ton of accounts and a ton of money. Part of it was I had a technological crash at the absolute worst possible time when I was already kind of in the hole bit. And by the time everything recovered, I got everything booted up. It was a disaster. But I think a huge thing for me now is when you're trading from a place of need, when okay, I need this $1,000 to pay the bills, to pay my kids' tuition, to pay car insurance or whatever, then you're in a completely different mindset. But when you're sitting on a year, 2 year, a couple of years worth of savings, right? And that capital is not at risk, and it's like, okay, well, so what? I lost, right? It's a little bit different mindset. So, and especially with prop, where if you blow a prop account, you know, you're spending a couple hundred or whatever it's going to cost, depending on the firm, whatever it is. Whereas when it's your own account, you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands. So, that affects the psychology a little bit as well.
Oh, I absolutely agree, especially about that. When you're trading from a place for me, because that's I've noticed as my personal finances have gotten better, my trading's gotten better. So that is definitely something that I think people need to be more aware of sometimes when they're trading and they're thinking that they need to do this to get to this place financially. They need to start realizing that they need to get that mindset changed in some way because it's probably going to continue to hold them back.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people I've met over the years that were trading well when they had that job, they had something, they were doing it part time, and they were making as much money trading as they were with their day job. So they're like, okay, I'll quit my day job now and I'll just trade. And like everything went to hell.
Yeah, it's just that quick change in psychology. And the thing is, most people don't even realize there's a change in psychology. It just happens, and they have no idea why it happened, but then they're not realizing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, how you said, your big payouts over this year. I guess once you add it all up, about 500K. How has that been life changing for you? Has it been life changing for you, or you know?
Not too much. I mean, it's nice having the capital. It's nice being in a better position, but I'm the kind of person that where I was never going to spend much of it anyways. I keep a modest lifestyle. I'm very, very blessed that my wife has a great job and works. So there's not the you know when it's like 10 million, 20 million, then maybe that. Uh, for now, it's the same. Anything I make, basically, I haven't even spent. Right, I just set it all aside. Well, other than to pay taxes on it, because that's all a
Right.
nightmare. But
Yeah. Taxman cometh. So let's talk a little bit about your trading style, if you don't mind. What kind of
yeah,
style of trading? And I know you mentioned ES. Is ES still what you trade, or what?
yeah, yes, it's still all that I trade. I just watch that, and that's it.
All right. And are you a scalper, long term hold? What kind?
Oh, I
What
tend
kind?
to a little bit of both, but hold on one second. My dog's trying to run out.
That's okay.
So yeah, I do a little bit of I do a lot of scalping, but I'm trying more and more with the position holding. It's it's a little tough psychologically still for me, especially. And again, this is also going to be the difference between prop versus personal accounts, right? Because in a prop, we have these rules,
Mm-hmm.
like a 20% consistency rule and a 10-day rule or whatever these different rules are. I find like psychologically for myself that it forces me to trade worse. Because things like if I know that I have a 10 days and I have to meet some consistency threshold, I'm less willing to just accept a small loss because that'll throw up because now I need a bigger win to offset it, right? And it kind of throws the numbers off. So, and then also when I'm capping profits, right, then I'm also not letting my winners ride because I'm capping my profits because I don't want to throw off consistency by making too much. Um, so those are some very real challenges that I had that forced me even more into the scalping methodology, like and especially when I was with Apex with the live trailing drawdown, the intraday drawdown. That was definitely it forced the scalping kind of methodology because you can't hold for a big win because it'll come back and you'll blow an account on a trade you were right on.
Yeah, the intraday drawdown is definitely a killer. Um, so you say you are trying to
Yeah.
hold longer now. What kind of size are you trading with? Are you 1 to 2 contracts, or do you like to go bigger?
Well, right now, well, up account right now, um, because of the fact that I had been crushed, I lost like all those accounts. So I've been on an absolute tear the last week and a half to try to make it all back. So in basically the last, let's see, what is it, 7, 8? I guess today was my eighth trading day, I think, with these accounts, and I'm now over like about 1.25 million or whatever in the last 8 days
Oh my
with
God.
the trading accounts. So I've been pushing a lot more size. I've been pushing like 20 contracts. Yesterday, I actually traded lighter. I actually only traded 5 to 10 contracts, but we had just such a huge move. I didn't need to push it anymore. Um, but like today, I put on like I was up to like 30 contracts, like the full 30 in the Le Mans.
Wow, that's some size. And you were copy trading 30 to every account?
Yep, correct. 20 accounts by 30. That's correct.
600 contracts. Wow.
Correct. Correct. And I took it for like what about eight, I guess about 8 points or so.
Do you go all in and all out, or do you scale out?
No, I scale in. I DCA in a lot, and then I kind of start taking profit. I don't scale a little bit, but mostly to win. It really just depends on the feel.
Makes sense.
So like a lot of what I do, like I didn't do it as much today. I did a little bit today, but I'll tend to DCA into things, and then like into like levels where I have the sport, and then I'll scale around the trade. So I'll end up trading a lot around a core position. So like let's say I'm in like 10 contracts, right? I
Hmm.
might take off a couple, three, four, five, buy five back, right? So like and just kind of with the ebbs and flows of the market.
That'd be interesting to watch. That's I've never really watched someone trade like that with size. That'd be a really interesting thing to watch, I
Well,
think.
yeah, with the size, I don't trade as much. Like I tend to like
Yeah.
just get in and well, especially because I'm capped, right? So like
Right.
a move like today, I bought. I think I was buying. I was DCAing from like the like I don't remember what my initial price was, but somewhere in the upper 80s into like low 80 or so,
Hmm.
and then I was selling as like into like the like low 90s or whatever, something like that. So I done with 30 contracts. I couldn't hold it anymore, or there was no need to even trade around it too much because I was already out. I was like, okay, 12K. I can't go above 12K because that'll throw my consistency numbers completely out of whack. So, but I've been building this cycle on purpose. I know like 25K is a number that in 10 days I could hit all day long, pretty much with a Le Mans
Hmm.
account.
Right.
So I capped my gains at 25, right? I'm sorry, at 5K. So 5K, 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 5K. So the first 5 days, I hit 5K. So then I capped my percentage at 25. So now I'm at consistency. So for day two, right, I did like 7K, right? And then day six, I did like 7K. Day seven, I did like whatever. I just scaled up that way.
Makes sense. And so, how many hours a day do you normally trade? Do you just normally trade in the morning,
Well,
or?
I usually, well, lately I'll trade all the time, but I've been done by the morning because I hit profit targets and then but I always watch. So I'm always sitting there watching because I'm looking at how it's trading around certain levels and I'll be keeping that in mind like the next day, right? Or the next day, like seeing it. So I'm always engaged with the market. It's a full-time job. Just because I get to my computer at like 7:38 in the 8 in the morning or so, and start trading, it doesn't and finish at 9:30, 10:30. My day's not done, right? I'm a full-time trader. That means I'm still engaged. I'm still watching. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to commit patterns to memory. So if I see that, I did that. Okay, you know, always continually try to get better.
It's awesome. Yeah, I know a lot of traders are talking about just wanting to be done by 10, and then they don't even look at the charts anymore. So I know. So I like that because I tend to look at the charts throughout the day, even while I'm doing other stuff, just to try and look for opportunities as well. So so what would you? Sorry, excuse me, stumbling over my words. New traders or struggling traders that would love to be a six-figure trader like yourself. What advice would you give to them?
Um, my dog is barking at the cleaning lady. Uh, I would say the biggest thing is most traders expect they go in.
I can't hear you.
Most traders they go into it expecting that they're going to be, making 100K a year, quitting their job like within a couple months, right? And the fact is, like, even if they are making 100K, you know, you need to have the capital. You need to build things up. Like everything has to have a base. Like we discussed earlier, right? When you're okay financially, it's going to go a lot better for you, right? And when you're trying to force it, it's like the end of the world. And I find like that everybody, myself, and I'm just myself personally, I still struggle with this, right? We always want to force it. We want that extra dollar. We want to make that money now. Right? I want to trade 2 minis instead of like 10 micros, right? Like I want to trade a 5 lot of minis instead of like, 20 micros that I can scale push it, right? Like you need to have that base. You need to have it where if you blow up an account, it has to like not really mean as much to you, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're trading with 100K and that's all you have, it's going to be very different than if I have an account with 100K, but I've got a couple other 100K set aside. So if I blow up that 100K, it's not the end of the world to me. I'm going to trade those two things very, very differently. And when you start caring about the money and the tick, to the tick, then you start going crazy. And I can't take a loss because this account is everything to me. And you end up being more likely to destroy that account because, it is everything to you. And then you have you just won't take the loss.
That makes a lot of sense. I know I've been like that myself. As I see an account that starts dwindling down, I only have so much drawdown left, and I'm not willing to take any risk of it, and that ends up causing me to end up blowing it
Yeah,
anyway. Yeah,
yeah. And even worse, it's like, I'm already almost blowing up, so let me throw in some extra contracts. Maybe I can make it back. Right?
makes a lot of sense. So just basically taking it slow and not, you know, make sure you have some accounts on the side, so it's
Yeah,
not all in one and done for you, basically.
yeah. Yeah, and again, like I said, like the way that I trade prop, I would not recommend most people to trade
Right.
because
Oh yeah.
I'm a little bit wild. Even people who are trading prop, right? Because like like I was talking to somebody there, it's like their last dollar, right, is invested into this account. Like, yeah, by all means, right? Like take it slow, like step by step, right? Like you're not going to get rich overnight, right? You're going to go poor overnight. Getting rich with it takes the time and doing the base. I think the other thing that people expect, and this it's still something that I really struggle with, I admit, um, we all want to be positive every day, right?
Hmm.
Almost every trade we want to be positive, but like definitely every day we have to be positive. And if we're trading small enough, like it is okay to lose a couple hundred here, a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there, if I am having those big days where I can make like 4 grand, 5 grand, right? And
Right.
like people are not really willing to tread water enough. And I think this is where the prop model actually is the worst thing in a lot of respects because it promotes the gambling, right? Because you do have these rules and they don't want somebody just having a huge windfall. I get it. You don't want somebody making 50 grand and then just flipping contracts to get a payout, right? Just on
Right.
luck. But at the same time, that creates this mentality where everybody's trying to make money every day for like a certain amount of period to get their payouts,
Makes a lot of
and
sense.
and it's not really the best psychological place to be or the best habit.
So, if a new trader was starting out, would you tell them to start out the prop firms, or would you tell them to try and start out if with their own
No,
account?
definitely, I would definitely suggest prop, and I would suggest starting with the smallest accounts and starting with micros. There's no reason to take risk. It's a learning process, right?
Right.
So the whole goal should be to minimize your tuition while you're learning. So to spend anything, above and beyond, and it should be treated as simply that, as tuition. The goal is not to make money, right? The goal is to learn, to make all those mistakes when it's $60, $100, whatever account that you can reset. You know, fine. You don't want to make those mistakes with the $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 account, right? It's about the tuition. And if you're able to make money, great, right? Set it aside to cover those future tuitions that you're likely going to have. So,
Exactly. Well, we have reached about the 30-minute mark in the interview, so we'll start wrapping up because I know your time is
okay.
valuable. But I was wondering if you personally have any goals from this point forward in your trading. Where do you see yourself trying to get to and all that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I really would like to, as a goal, is I'd like to get back to, know, essentially being in live trading is definitely the goal, right? For me,
Mm-hmm.
with prop and on my own again. And I'd like to be at that 100 lot, 200 lot size in the ES on, like live accounts. So like, having, putting on a 600 is one thing when it's on a prop and it's virtual and, things of that nature. But I'd like to be at least 100 or 200 lot again, sizing for me. So, and for me, I would say that would be probably around about a $2 million account for that
Wow.
to do it safely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because keep in mind, like it's with your own money, it's a little bit different, right? With prop, you can leverage up a little bit more, but with your own money, that contract to account size becomes very, very important, right? Like with something like the ES, let's use $100 as an example, right? Let's say I lose 2.5 points, 5 points even, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 25. That's 25 grand if I lose 5 points with a 100 lot position. 25,000 bucks. So, at what point is it that 25,000 becomes insignificant, lost to no more than 1.5% or so of the account? So, like 2 mil then becomes the figure that you really need to trade 100 lots safely.
Right. Yeah. That.
So most people, they don't really think in those terms enough, right? They are, but you have to have the capital behind it to do it safely.
Yeah. Because if you have 2 million, then seeing a $25,000 red number isn't going to freak you out, where
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know, and it won't
Yeah.
affect that psychology as much because it's equal to
Yeah.
like one contract on a $50,000 account or whatever. So it's basically the same percentage.
And it's also about the difficulty in making it back, right? Like
Right.
if I have a 100K account and I lose 25K, the amount of leverage and how hard I have to trade to make up that 25K is huge, right? With the 2 million, okay, I lost 25K, it's not a big deal. I can make it back really easy. So, like that helps with the psychology, but it's also the practical aspect of, just, scaling and doing things, gradually.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've reached the end. Unless you have anything else you'd like to add.
No, I've enjoyed it. Thank you for the interview.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I thank you for your time. First interview I've done in a while, and this went very well. As always, everybody, BenG is on my Discord. I hope he plans on sticking there in the community. If you ever want to
Yeah.
give him a shout, don't bug him, but give him a shout. I'm sure he'll say hi. And um, and we'll continue to keep up with his progress. Maybe he'll post his progress in our Propfirm progress channel there on our Discord. Again, Ben, I
Yeah.
do want to thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you have a
Very good.
great afternoon.
You as well. Take care.
You too.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
As always, I thank you everyone for being here today. As always, join our Discord. Like I said, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and join my live streams. Maybe I can convince Ben one day to come on a live stream. Probably not. Might mess with this trading. I don't know. Anyway, have a great day, everyone.